They don't know. I say they swear they know me, but they don't know the D.O. double G. They don't know. Put my niggas down with me until the day I die. You hoes know. I said my niggas down with me until the day I die. You hoes know. If there's a cure for this, I don't want it. I don't need it. And if there's a cure for this, I don't need it. I don't want it. And if there's a cure for this, I don't want it. I don't need it. And if there's a cure for this, I don't need it. I don't want it.
I'm up early in the morning, trying to get paid, cause my mind's on my money. Everything is so made. I play game in the youngster, as a youngster, trying to make my money, trying to become a hustler.
Yes.
Finally made the status, Gladys Knight and the Pip Snoop Dogg about the trip, catch a grip and then I'll dip. Making money is a must for me.
I'm feeling good. Today's a good day. What about
Me
you?
too. Feeling pretty good. Which leads into my first topic I've been thinking about is coffee. Oh shit. Gotta stop the Tupac. But coffee, I love it. I know you don't drink it unless you're maybe camping or on vacation or in
Emergencies.
dire situations. But I'm a coffee addict. And what happens is occasionally I get into these cycles where I have a bad couple nights of sleep, so I'm tired. And at work, we have unlimited coffee. So, I mean, I'll go through 5-6 cups of coffee, you know, at a bad peak. And it ends up making me, one, feel like I'm losing my mind. It's hard to concentrate on tasks. I feel overwhelmed, anxiety, because it does really trigger anxiety. It's on some approved list of anxiety triggers and all
I
this.
could definitely see. I mean, you're all wired up.
Yeah. And I can get anxious occasionally anyways, but that definitely sparks it up in me. But what actually happens is it starts to tire you out. You feel fatigued all the time, so you want to keep drinking coffee, but the key is to just start weaning off of it, you know, cutting down the amount you have per day. You might get a headache if you just go cold turkey. Actually, you definitely will. You'll get a really bad headache.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just like
Yeah.
any sort of like withdrawal symptom.
Right, and I have no interest in completely stopping at all.
No need to.
No, so what I started doing is just mixing in decafs, which, you know, still gives me that same feeling of like sipping on the warm drink while you're working, helps you concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just a warming thing. I like having a hot cup of coffee while I'm reading things or doing anything. But that way, you know, I don't just OD on caffeine. I don't just get all wigged out when I'm sitting there trying to concentrate on my computer.
I wonder. So, well, first, I appreciate the introspectiveness that it takes to see that flaw, like drinking too much coffee, whatever, you know, like symptom. You know, I drink too much, you know, alcohol,
Thank you.
whatever. Not me, but
I was trying to, you know, figure out what was making me feel like I can barely keep up with life, and it was just too much coffee.
so. But you're not alone on this. A lot of people are addicted to coffee, and whether they realize it, most people kind of do. But I mean, they're like, whatever, it's coffee, I don't care. I don't know. I wonder if they are going through the same shit in terms of like they're more anxious people, etc., and they don't know like what the reason is, and they're drinking like 8 cups of coffee a day, and
Yeah.
they don't even realize it. It's like if they.
And they know it keeps them awake, so they want to keep drinking it.
Yeah. It's like
And then it messes with your sleep. If you start having cups at 6, 7 p.m., even if you start feeling tired at, say, 10 p.m. and you can fall asleep, the caffeine can stay in your system for, I think, up to 8 to 12 hours. So your body can't fully rest. You know, your mind is slightly awake, even though your body's asleep.
it's like obviously the symptoms and I mean everything about it is less severe, of course, but take a look at any hard drug like let's say heroin or something. It's like people always say, yeah, I don't take it to feel good. It's like at this point I take it so I don't feel like shit. So it's like I think that's what a lot of like coffee drinkers will sometimes say. It's like if I don't have my coffee, I'm just gonna feel like shit. So
Yeah.
like I feel like
Too much coffee is sort of like a bad Adderall. Like you feel really motivated, but you feel so anxious it's hard to start any task, it seems, and you just feel like completely flustered in your head. It just makes you the scatterbrain.
I feel like that's when you realize when any sort of activity is taking you into a negative. Like, so if you look at any activity, let's say it's
Working
drinking.
out,
Let's say
anything.
Working out, drinking.
Which is great, but you can overdo that. You can get addicted to it.
If you're when you do it, if it's initially taking you, let's say your baseline is whatever, and you're doing it and it takes you above that baseline, that's great. But if you start doing it too much and you're only doing it to get you back to the original baseline, so
The problem is moving that level, which is the term, chasing the dragon, which mainly came from heroin users because they can never experience the first time, which is why, unfortunately, a lot of people overdose on that type of thing.
Yeah, because they're trying to reach that original experience, and which they'll never get to. So,
right, anything.
Yeah.
Pot, drinking. If you're drinking 3-4 beers every night, eventually they're not going to.
You build up a tolerance.
Yeah, if you have 2 beers, you're not really going to have much mental effect compared to someone who never drinks.
Obviously, people have different, let's say,
tolerances,
willpower to not allow themselves to go from let me have a beer a night, and that turns into drinking 2 fists every night. But
yeah, some people can do for 15 years just 1 beer a night. They just have that mental power to just be like, yeah, just have a beer after work. But other people, they just keep sliding and sliding.
Excuse
me.
But it's good that you saw that and you wanted to improve that. But yeah, you make a really good point. You can't just stop that cold turkey. Yeah, dude, you'll feel like shit.
No, and coffee's great. So my experiment, I wanted to wait a little bit and see how I was feeling. So for about 1 week now, I've had no more than 2 caffeinated coffees or drinks of any kind a day. And
so
I feel at least 43% more awake and energized, and can actually concentrate on things. I feel like I've been blazing through things at work, and tasks around the house, just laundry and everything like that. I don't just delay it and get overwhelmed with thinking of all the things I have to do. It seems like it keeps me more just going, having
when
less
you're
of it.
using
It affects everyone differently, though, I'm sure. Maybe some people can have 5 cups and feel fine.
When you're using coffee to boost your activities rather than get you to a baseline, I feel like that's when you're at that right level of consumption. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Plus, if you keep it, minimized, you look forward to that 1 or 2 coffees, a day, way more. I really look forward to the first coffee in the morning. But if you're just drinking them nonstop throughout the day, it just kind of becomes like water to you.
You get excited about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
get excited for water, but I get excited for coffee because it's like I look forward to that event of brewing it or getting one nice and hot.
My
but water's
favorite
always
thing
available.
in staying in a hotel now is
yeah.
the fucking coffee. I love getting up
Like
and
I said,
go
the
to the
vacation
fucking
man.
machine. And
Yeah, it's so weird. You're a vacation coffee guy.
Yeah, I love it.
We were just talking about I think we've talked about it multiple times on this podcast, but the High Spot Cafe in Seattle has fantastic coffee and delicious breakfast.
I would recommend it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if anyone is listening near Seattle, go check out High Spot Cafe.
They really have.
It's got a bit of like a bed and breakfast feel to it too. They brew the coffee downstairs, and I think that's where the kitchen is, obviously. And then usually, most of the seats, I think there's a few downstairs, are upstairs in this sort of open balcony type setting, and you can see everyone and look down at the coffee stuff. It's pretty cool.
They've got really good pancakes as well too.
Tremendous. They got the banana pancakes,
strawberry.
Yeah, they're stuffed inside, not any of that nonsense where they put 3 slices on top.
I can't stand that. That's so lazy.
You know what I can compare that to? When you get an omelet and they just cook a big plain omelet and just throw in a few loose things and fold it over.
That's not the same thing as actually cooking it into it.
Yeah, you gotta cook it in. Like if you get a ham and cheese omelet, I expect it to be cooked in, maybe some peppers in there. So if you slice through it, you don't want stuff to fall out.
You lose a lot of the flavor when it's not actually cooked into each other.
Right, because if you're cooking your eggs with the, say, bacon or mushrooms, anything, it's going to get the flavor infused. But if you just throw it in at the end, you're just eating plain egg with some toppings, basically.
I mean, it's not. That's
it's
not
good,
saying it's bad, yeah.
No,
but if you're trying to actually combine it, just do it the right way.
Yeah, there's levels to food. Like High Spot Cafe, their coffee is just a level above Starbucks. probably with a lot of local Seattle places. But Starbucks isn't bad compared to some shit gas station coffee.
I wonder when Starbucks was just like, wasn't there just one Starbucks to start off with? We saw that when we went to Seattle, didn't we? Like the first Starbucks.
From the outside, yeah. There
Oh,
was
yeah.
a line down the block. There's
There's no way
I-
getting in line for that.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
I like coffee, but
not
that's
that
a
much.
tourist trap for sure.
So, when that was the first Starbucks, do you think that their coffee was better then? Do you think it's been just more like generalized, like what's the word that I'm looking for? Just
Well, I haven't been around long enough to know how it was at the very beginning personally.
how long have they been around for?
I think since the mid 80s.
Really?
I'm just passing this information along from another podcast I was listening to, so I can't act like I did a bunch of research on the Starbucks. But when they started, they basically took the approach that we're just going to take beans and roast them really dark, which gives it that real, roasted, almost burnt taste, which is why a lot of people hate Starbucks coffee. They say it tastes like burnt water. Because other coffee roasters will roast less. Sometimes they're like a lighter color, but Starbucks basically has black colored beans, because they roast the shit out of it. I mean, they do have a few light roasts, but for the most part, like their regular just coffee, like their house blend is pretty burnt tasting. I don't mind it in a pinch. Like Starbucks is usually served on the plane if you're traveling. Like I'll have a cup of that. But it's definitely not as good as, getting some good beans and making it yourself at home or going to a good coffee shop.
See,
Mid-level,
like I said, I'll drink coffee on vacations. One of my favorites is in the hotel. Since I don't drink coffee a lot, like a lot of people will say that coffee's so shitty. Like don't even drink that. But
You do notice
enjoy-
though, like at
there's a huge difference
Yeah.
between that and like that High Spot Cafe.
right, like
Huge,
you
huge
pointed it
difference.
out. You sipped the coffee. You said this coffee's amazing,
And
and you don't drink it all the time. But you were just able to point it out. Like this tastes way better than what I usually have.
you can tell the difference. But even that shitty coffee, or like when we go to McDonald's and get like their coffee when we go camping or something.
I was about to say I'm not some pretentious coffee drinker either. I just got McDonald's coffee the other day.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I like McDonald's actually. Their coffee, I think, uses the previous coffee bean supplier of Tim Hortons before they switched over. Because I think Tim Hortons was bought by Burger King, and then they switched their beans to some cheaper supplier, and a bunch of people were pissed, but then forgot about it. But we're bringing back up the topic. Get mad about it. Tweet at Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
And that's really sad because their food is pretty subpar in most cases I've experienced, or at least really poorly put together.
Tim Hortons.
Yeah,
I
I've
don't-
had good occasionally, but from one location, but 88% of the locations I've been to have just been shit.
Honestly, the only food item I've ever gotten from there is their fucking donuts. Like
Oh,
their-
donuts are great. I'm talking
yeah.
about their like ham and Swiss sandwich.
I don't even bother.
Yeah, or their soups.
I don't bother with it.
Yeah. One time I ordered I think it was a turkey and cheese, like a deli type sandwich and a soup, and they took my order. Also, it was a large iced coffee, and I went through the drive-through, and they handed me this gigantic. It was sort of like a quesadilla, like one gigantic tortilla filled with cheese, and a hot coffee. And I just sat there like, you know what, fuck it. And I just went home and ate it.
That might be delicious to some people, but I mean,
I was like,
guess
that just was the complete wrong order. Not even close. It had to be on purpose. They're like, let's fuck with this guy and just give him something completely different.
I don't think I really like to go to places and get shit that they're not like known for. It's like
Yeah,
I
like
feel
go
like
to Tim Hortons and just get coffee. Like what
And
our friend
donuts.
Ahmed worked there. He said never get their food. What does
Like-
that tell you?
it's they're known for their coffee and their like Timbits. You know what I mean?
And the regular donuts. Are
And the
cool.
donuts,
But
yeah.
like the food, I wouldn't trust that. It's all microwaved or like been sitting there. Or they
Dairy
just,
Queen is known for their ice cream. They're not known for their fucking cheeseburgers, or
No,
their
no.
quality, like whatever everything else that they have. Go there for their ice cream and their ice cream cakes.
Yep, and as you know, one of my ex-girlfriends worked at Dairy Queen, and she would just tell me how they made some of the foods and made me never want to eat it.
Yeah.
Because there was the DQ Grills, like there's one near Cedar Point, if you're ever in Ohio, right outside the theme park. And the difference is they actually have a grill. They actually make like chicken and stuff, and then you can get ice cream afterwards. And they're pretty good.
That's good.
I
feel
went
that's
there
good.
once.
Yeah. They're actually cooking the food like that.
Right, but if you go to like a regular DQ and get like a pulled pork sandwich, like that's like
Microwave.
that's
easily.
death to your stomach.
Yeah, that can't be
They
good.
do. They throw it in the microwave, like, you know, pulled beef or whatever it is, and they just slap some barbecue sauce on with like a soggy bun. It's just disgusting.
I mean, shit. Get me in the right situation, I'll probably down like 12 of them.
I mean,
but
obviously,
like,
if I was working there and tired and, you know, serving people ice cream all day, I'd probably eat 3 of those things. But like as a consumer, there's no way I'm gonna go buy it.
like you could get something probably at the same price, but actually better only because they're a slider place. Like if you go to what is that place in Livonia that people like?
Sonic?
No, not
Oh,
not
yeah,
Sonic.
yeah. There's that
With the white
old
building?
that old time burger place that's been around since like the 80s or 70s. They serve
Oh.
like those like cheap little slider burgers with like onions on them.
Right. So
Yeah,
I
it's
get-
sort of like a diner, like one of those old hamburger places.
yeah, what is the name of that place?
We gotta look it up.
The reason why I bring that up is I'm sure for the same price,
Bates,
Bates,
Yeah.
Bates hamburger,
great
they're really
place.
good.
Go check it out.
I feel like for the same
5
price,
Mile in Livonia, next to Big Boy.
for the same price of one of those DQ fucking sliders, you could get the same shit at Bates for the same price, but Bates is going to be like actually authentic and delicious.
Well, that's the thing is like even if you don't want to go all the way to Bates, which you should, and get some good
Right.
food, or even like Five Guys.
There's nothing special about Bates. There's probably Bates in every city.
Yeah, but what I was gonna get at is DQ isn't even that cheap. Like it's like $4 or $5 for a sandwich from there. You could go down the road, at least go to like Del Taco or something.
So
Taco Bell. I mean, it's just gonna be similar gut experiences, but it's gonna taste way better.
yeah, it's like what was the? It was Taco Bell that started doing breakfast. Do they still do that?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever had it. Maybe one time I had the pancake taco, where it's like rolled over. It's just like a pancake filled with eggs and bacon, basically.
That's one of those things with Taco Bell. It's like stay in your lane. It's
Yeah, like
like
McDonald's does breakfast. Stop.
yeah, it's
I
like
mean, Burger King tries, but it's kind of like Mega Blocks compared to Legos. You know, McDonald's is the Legos. Like if you get Burger King breakfast, like it tastes good, it might be enjoyable, but it's just not the real thing.
See, I feel like McDonald's did it the right way in terms of like trying to enter new markets because you know how for like ages, like you couldn't find McDonald's that would serve breakfast like at night or at all, and they started testing the waters. They're like, let's see how many people start getting breakfast at like earlier in the night, and then let's just have it all day. Holy shit, that was such a good idea because like
Because if you're leaving the bar, you no longer have to go to a 24-hour McDonald's and just get nuggets. You can get, an Egg McMuffin.
But the thing is, they didn't add anything like I don't think so for the most, maybe like one thing or two, I don't know. But they didn't like add a completely new like menu in. They just gave out what they had available. Like imagine if Taco Bell only serves like a certain like burrito between like 10 and like 11 p.m. and then they started selling it the entire time.
Well, that's the thing. One, I don't even know where there is a Taco Bell. Actually, I lied. There's one on Grand River. But I never really ever even think to go there for breakfast. So if I ever were to try Taco Bell breakfast, it would have to be like a 24-hour thing, like you're saying. I don't go very often, but I might try it at night if we're chilling and we're like, let's try Taco Bell breakfast. But I always go to McDonald's if I really want to get fast food.
I feel like part of it's probably that nostalgia too, because that's like McDonald's. I remember getting that as a kid, so it's like, oh, it feels good.
That's big for me. Like not every single weekend, but usually like every other Sunday, my dad would go pick up McDonald's breakfast, and I'd usually go with him. Hit the drive-through, listen to the morning sports talk radio and all that. And I would like the whole experience. You think of like the car ride, the wind, dad smoking a cigarette, etc., that type of
The
thing.
smells, the McDonald's, the cigarette.
Right. So then I do get nostalgia when I get McDonald's. That's basically the only fast food I get anymore is McDonald's breakfast.
Yeah, I honestly
That's
I love McDonald's breakfast because there's one like a block away from me, so that's really easy. But their for the most part, you just get 1 or 2 sandwiches and you're set, or maybe 1 sandwich and what are those things called? A hash brown.
Yeah.
And they usually gets me going.
Want to know a secret with McDonald's breakfast is any of the McMuffins with egg, like Egg McMuffin, sausage, etc. Those have fresh eggs they crack into the rings and they make for you. But anything with scrambled eggs, like the big breakfast or the burrito, I mean, they're still good, but some sort of like pre-made, like powdered egg type situation. So, if you want the freshest breakfast, hit up a Egg McMuffin.
Interesting. Do you know what I always do now? On your suggestion, actually.
What's up? You say fresh made?
Nope.
That's another thing you can do. They might get pissed at you, though.
I used to get 2 different, let's say, sausage McMuffins or sausage biscuits, and then take the patty out of one and just put it in the other and just eat that. But now I just ask for one extra sausage on it.
Right, then you don't have to have a whole extra bread and all that thing.
I've confused a couple of workers by asking for that, but after a couple of negotiation tactics, they usually just put it on.
I love when I get someone who's like, our age or younger, who's like 19. I'm like, can I get an egg with like sausage and this? And he's just like, so you want, and he'll just say it like perfectly back and gets it on, like, you know what I mean. Like he'll matched up with the menu, and like I'm just kind of saying things.
No, I've had to. I try not to be an asshole with it because some people will just be obnoxious with the shit that they'll ask for the fast food worker to do. It's like, put. I don't want any salt. Make it fresh. I don't want onions. I want a couple, but I don't. Just shit like that.
Yeah.
Cook it with your shoes on. Like weird shit. So, if I ask for like just one simple thing, hey, can I just get 1 extra patty on there?
Yeah.
Usually they don't throw a fucking fit. But just people have been confused when I've asked. It's like, oh, we don't do that. It's like, yeah, you guys do. It's just, I've told them, it's like, it's just $1 more. You got to press that button.
Don't you love when you've gotten something 500 times at a place and then you go to a different location one time? Usually it works, but maybe the one worker one time is just like, we can't do that. I'm like, listen, I've gotten it this way so many times. It's definitely possible. You're just not trying hard enough.
That happened with me to the Olga's that I go to. The same fucking place. Like, I went there and got this one menu item 1,000 times.
Yeah, you get like the Olga sandwich deconstructed.
Yeah, it was enough for 2 sandwiches for the price of like $1 extra. And like it was like a cheat. It was like a cheat on the fucking menu.
Please tell me you would order it like that sometimes. But can I get the deconstructed sandwich?
Maybe once or twice. But I would order it and like for months. I ordered for a couple months without any questions asked. No one got their feelings hurt. It was a nice, smooth transaction. But out of nowhere, I went up happy one day. It was like, hey, can I get the deconstructed Olga sandwich? And they're like, we don't do that. I'm like, I ordered it last week. It's like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, we don't have it on the menu. I'm like, are you? Either way, I was devastated. And now, like, it's been probably a couple months since I've asked, and there's been some new workers there. So, but I'm still afraid to ask. Yeah.
For people who haven't heard of Olga's, we've mentioned it on the cast before the podcast and explained this, but it's basically think of a small chain, like a Chipotle type, not like a build your own, just like a small chain restaurant, and they serve their own versions of Mediterranean food. Like they have an Olga sandwich, as we just talked about, and their Olga salad are basically a Greek salad and a gyro.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what it is. But they do their own special bread. It's kind of soft and
it's
really good. A little bit chewy. I really like it. I haven't gone there in a while.
But they would give.
They're only in the Midwest. Yeah, Midwest or just Michigan.
Yeah. I think I looked it up. It was only in
I
Michigan.
can't say Midwest. There was, I was like, are we in the Mideast? I couldn't think for a second. Which direction are we?
Only in Michigan. I think there was like one in Illinois.
Okay.
Like just some sort of outlier, just testing the waters out there. It went rogue.
I would say I hope they expand, but I heard I think just 2-3 years ago they closed a bunch of them, but a lot of them are still open.
Yeah, the one that I go to in Dearborn Heights,
they're like restructured or whatever, bankruptcy.
Well, hopefully at least the one that I go to sticks around.
Speaking of food, and I'm looking at this burger page we looked up. that burger place we went to in Ann Arbor at Hash Bash was
Ooh,
really good.
yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. I didn't even look at the sign. It was like one of those corner places, and we just kind of stumbled into it. But the food was tremendous, but the lady was kind of a dick at the counter.
I can kind of understand. Like she probably, because we went there what, like 3 p.m., 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So we went there pretty later in the afternoon. So I would have to bet, since like the time that they opened, she probably had to deal with a bunch of first-time smokers who probably were like high as fuck and couldn't order shit.
Yeah, just
And-
high people all day.
And then
People on edibles, people smoking.
so by the time me and Mike get there, she thinks that we're like those first time smokers who like are going to be like high as fuck. So she immediately is
I mean,
like,
it kind of makes
what do you
sense.
want? Yeah, it does.
It's
I
the
look-
burger place. It's cheap. That's
yeah.
probably where a lot
middle
of
of fucking Hash Bash.
yeah.
you
It's,
know.
it's not like any of the more uppity people visiting the. I mean, they might stop there for a burger, but they're more likely to go to an actual restaurant maybe and spend $20-$30 on the excursion. But we're like, hey, let's just grab a $5 burger. We
So-
went in there and just looking at the menu for a second. It's simple. It's just like, what was it? A euro,
A burger
and a
or
hot dog or
yeah,
something.
something like that. Pretty simple.
And we just went straight up with it. Like, hi. She's like, what will you have? I was
Yeah,
like,
what do you want
"Huh?"
on it?
I was like, damn. I was like,
Calm down.
yeah, just 2 cheeseburgers. She's like, what will you have? What toppings do you want? Like rushing. I was like, would you even give us a chance to say anything? I was just like, everything.
Like, okay, I can understand the situation, but Jesus Christ, lady.
I was like, pump the brakes, lady.
But other than that, I mean, it was actually a pretty cool environment.
Yeah, the burger was really good. It reminded me of a good backyard barbecue, like a family barbecue burger. Like a little bit of char on it. The bun was a little toasty, sesame seed bun. It had just all the regular toppings you'd like get at home, like a good tomato slice, mayo, ketchup, pickles. I thought it was tremendous.
Oh yeah, and it
I
was
could have gone for some
pretty
fries
cheap
with
too.
it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't serve fries. That was actually pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, maybe the fryer was out.
But other than that, I mean, that was the first time I've ever went to Hash Bash. And for people who don't know, I mean, I feel like it's
pretty well known.
pretty well known. But like,
It's just the
big-
first Saturday of April where basically everyone from a lot of places actually, some people like fly in for it, I'm sure.
yeah,
But just go to the the Diag, this big grass park area across from where a lot of the university buildings and the main street is in Ann Arbor, and they just smoke weed. And this year there was legalization, so there was a ton of people out there. I had never gone, like you said. It was interesting just to walk around and see all the interesting folk walking around and people selling shit. And we saw this whole interesting, like, I don't want to misclassify it. Would you say that was like African music?
definitely not. That was like Indian music.
Okay, I
Yeah.
couldn't tell what they were
Yeah.
trying to like get at, like what genre, but I enjoyed whatever it was.
Yeah.
We captured it. Actually, we'll post that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Did
yeah.
you save that video or did you just post that
No,
on the...
no, I see. For those in the exclusive contracts, they got it on Instagram and Snapchat Live.
Oh, you didn't save the video after you
No,
posted
no,
it?
I should have. I should have.
Well, I
if
got
you-
audio. I'll post audio of their live performance. It was all improv. It was people just doing whatever, but everyone was
really
joining
good.
in with drums. People were yelling things, but it all flowed together great. We
Yeah,
stayed for what, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes for a while. I
It-
mean, you could hear it across the park, but
It was a really good time. I mean, there were people selling cheese. What are those things called? What are those sandwiches called? Grilled cheese
Grilled
sandwiches.
cheeses,
Yeah,
yeah.
grilled cheese sandwiches
in the
with-
alley.
Yeah, with weed in them in the this famous alley with
All the
graffiti and shit. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
It's just called the Graffiti Alley. I think if you look it up on Google Maps, that's a location, a landmark.
But shout out to Hollyweed Cones. But yeah, no, that was a really fun time down there.
Yeah. It was funny because, you'd hear people walking like, man, I'm sick of all the smoke. It's actually kind of annoying. And I heard
Like, this
just
is
like
the
one
one
or two
day.
people say something like that. It's like, just, it's the wrong day. Just go somewhere else. And it wasn't the whole city. I mean, they were walking around the main area complaining. It's like, well, then leave.
Right, with that being
I mean,
like
I
the
don't want to
first
walk
time-
through pure smoke, but it really wasn't that bad. It was a beautiful day. The wind was blowing. I didn't really have smoke in my face much or at all.
With that being the first time I was there, really didn't know what to experience. I didn't know if like just all around the city, which I mean people were, but it was really secluded to like that Diag area. But I assumed that just all around the entire city, like everyone would just be like smoking. But
I love going out and just seeing people. Just like walking around a city area like that. Like we saw so many interesting folk. We saw the white Cat Williams. This guy was in a full...
He really did look like him.
I'm not kidding when I say full purple pimp suit, including the feather.
He looked good.
Yeah, the only thing he was missing was a cane, and he wasn't doing a necessarily like a pimp walk.
He was probably hot though. Yeah.
Yeah, he was wearing like full fur coat and everything, and it was what 65, 70 degrees.
Yeah, no, it was about like 70 degrees.
Yeah.
I had a sweatshirt on and I was kind of sweating in the sun.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was doing all right in there because it was a little bit chilly, I guess, if you weren't wearing a sweatshirt.
We even saw
we saw a giant. That one guy was like 6'10".
That's right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that dude.
Yeah, this guy looked like you just could. He was like the mountain. Like so you could just grab someone by the head and just crush their skull. It was insane. Like he was one of those people who are like, is his voice going to be tiny? And then you just like, hey, and you're like, oh my god, like yeah, there's like that deep booming. I can't even do it, like a giant voice.
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah,
like
it was like that, but like
like deep voice.
Yeah, that plus volume. Like you could just hear him like answering some quiet questions, just like booming across the park. I'm like, that guy's lungs are larger than kids.
You would expect him to be some security guard, but watch him just be some like fucking software engineer.
I was just about to say, I like to picture him like working with like one of those headsets or something, like on a conference call, like huddled over a little computer doing marketing things.
Like,
That'd be
hey.
hilarious. He has like the little 13-inch MacBook hunched over.
We even saw a group of people trying to incite what is it the religious shit. It's like, oh yeah, like Jesus loves you, like all that fun stuff. But he was saying
people are going to get struck by lightning and God hates. I don't know. I think he was trying to. It was something related to the hash bash, like. You know, like, oh, have fun now, but like, you know, you'll face the demons later. He was all about that type of thing.
I don't think I pointed it out, but
there was two guys they swapped out.
Oh yeah, well shit, the one guy can't yell for like 5 hours straight.
No, he's like, hey man, I'm sick of
I'm
yelling.
tapping out. Yeah.
He's like, you go say some crazy shit.
Did you notice that when we walked by, at least the first time, there were like fucking little kids like passing out pamphlets and shit?
No, I honestly didn't even see them. I just tunnel visioned through.
There were
where
like
we were going.
Two like Hispanic looking kids, and that got me thinking, like, so you know how there's the whole separation thing going on at the border, whatnot.
Yeah.
So a lot of those kids, you know how a lot have been accounted for.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm just laughing. I just saw this kid and just went on this deep.
So, but listen. I'm trust me. I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
So, a lot of the kids that they do know, like where they went, they actually sent them to like Christian adoption agencies, and were just adopted, even though like so they were just separated and then adopted to fucking like random families.
Yeah.
So these Christian adoption agencies, what if like those kids like were adopted through that, and then now they just got them like they were just fucking separated, and now they got them fucking passing out pamphlets and shit for this like crazy like white dude fucking yelling all this religious shit.
Right, just indoctrination, you know, just you know, they grew up with everyone telling them that's the way it is. You got to pass this stuff out. Even if they eventually get out of it, when you're a kid, you just listen.
I felt so bad for them because like they looked like they didn't want to be there. They were just fucking sweating in the sun, passing out these fucking pamphlets. Like,
well, I think like even if they do believe it,
got this guy yelling behind them.
Yeah, like even if they do believe it, etc. Like even if the kids just like you know, oh, I really hope someone like got something out of it today. Like the kids don't really want to be there though. Like you remember being a kid, you didn't want to be at the mall with your mom or like out in the sun at some fair as a kid.
Dude, he probably sees like everyone else like having a like good fucking time eating this food and shit, and then
I mean, it sucks being a kid, honestly, when you're at adult things. Like if you're playing with other friends and stuff, it's awesome. But if you're at some like one of those beer tents with your parents or something, or your aunt or uncle, and everyone's just talking about adult stuff and laughing, and you're like 8, you're like, this sucks. I want to go home and play Game Boy.
And you would think so, like. Let's say that these people, like really religious, etc., wouldn't they want to like not introduce, like even though it's like no different than drinking, but it would be the same thing if they took them to something where a bunch of people were drinking. Why
wouldn't they side with it? Wouldn't they be like, "This is great, don't drink"?
Why
something like that?
Why would you want to expose the kid to like
all the smoke in the air and people doing all that debauchery, as you say it? Like if all these people are doing like horrific, you know, demonic things. Why are you letting kids pass out pamphlets to them?
Right, like if let's say, I mean, the same thing if it was like
Like when
some
you
sort of
said-
Oktoberfest situation, you know, like everyone's just drinking and
Like, would you stand them outside like a heroin den and hand out pamphlets? No.
like
I know it's like extreme comparison,
Yeah.
but it's just like, you know, they must know in some form at their core it's not that bad. It's just like they're just trying to like pass the message on. They have to know that, like, because if they thought it was that bad, as you're saying, they wouldn't let the kids be that close to it.
yeah, that's why it's so frustrating just seeing, because look, people like were obviously the only reason why people like will do that is they get attention from that. So you and I mean, we acknowledged it and, you know, walked by, but there's people standing there, you know, like trying to egg them on and or like yell at them. X,
I
Y,
yelled
Z.
once. I'll be honest. I was like, "Why would God I said, "Why would God let puppies die?"
He didn't have an answer.
Yeah, he didn't answer. I have, you know.
But
I'm not saying there's no one out there. I just want to know what he would say about that.
but obviously, they want attention. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's people who just want to just spread, you know, whatever
Yeah.
they think is the truth.
I thought he was just annoying, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to yell once to just show I was annoyed back to him.
I feel like I would, no matter what I was like campaigning for, I feel like after a while I would just start to feel like I would start to question whether I'm doing the right thing if I'm sitting there with a megaphone, all these people just kind of walking by and then just ignoring me or just like yelling at me. I feel like I would probably start to feel like, okay, something's up here.
Yeah.
At the same time too, unless if that's like a really good message, I don't know, you know.
I mean, he might have some good messages in there, but, you know, telling people they're going to get struck down by lightning and,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
know.
I'm like, don't really make the whole thing seem appealing, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that it doesn't sound like a good time.
Yeah, like, you know, ignorance is bliss. I don't feel like I'm going to get struck down by lightning currently.
Out of the, I don't know, like 10,000 people that may have like walked by that area that day, probably like, if at the most, one person that could have like meant something to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
My whole thing is like, believe what you want to believe. 100% cool with me, but come on, man. A megaphone? Like, don't put that on people. That's just
Yeah.
how I feel about it. I get even passing out pamphlets maybe silently, but the megaphone, standing on the box so he's taller than everyone, like he's some sort of deity. Like, you know, you're not just raining down prophecies. You're just some guy who probably, like, works at an office job. Or Staples.
I really don't understand. So don't like some religions discourage, what is it called?
Preaching?
like conversion and like trying to like get other people to convert and like preaching and shit like that.
I don't know which one specifically, but I think you're supposed to like spread the word through good deed, but not like try to trick or like manipulate people into joining. Which would at least would be the good way to do it. I mean, if I was designing one,
like
you know, basically like anything, let the good word spread about your product or anything. Show, don't like force people or trick people into thinking it's something else.
exactly like I feel like if it's good, it'll speak for itself.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
It'd be like if we told everyone at the beginning of the podcast that we were like, you know, had our masters in journalism.
Oh yeah, like oh yeah, we're the best at X, Y, and Z. It's like
Yeah.
okay, well I mean like
Yeah, we made it
Just
clear
let it
a
show.
while back. Like, you know, we do little bits of news research by just reading articles, but we're not
like,
journalists.
It's like a boxer or an MMA fighter who's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up, etc., and then talks all this shit and then gets knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
You know? So
My favorite is
you
like
gotta
a-
back it up.
I always love when like there's those guys, you know, or sometimes women, but mainly guys who get like overly aggressive pre-fight and are like really the one pushing like the, you know, trying to push at the stand-in, the weigh-ins, and the other guy just stands there stone cold, and then the stone cold guy just ends up rocking him and just knocking him out or choking him out in the fight. It's so satisfying because it's like you got so cocky.
It's crazy how like some people like have different motivations. Like some people like need to do that just to get themselves pumped up for the fight because
Yeah, they need
for
to get
whatever
angry,
reason.
aggressive.
Right.
Which
Like,
is always bad, I think, because even
Well-
if you feel more confident, you're not going to be able to concentrate. You can't get in that flow state if you're raged.
Well, fighters have talked about like they need to like not like their opponent, like the Diaz brothers. Like no one will ever say that they're like. Well, you'll see people say that they're shitty fighters, whatever. But
I don't know if all of them think that.
So what do you mean?
I mean, they're in the moment. Yeah, you have to be like, I have to take down this guy, but I think certain fighters definitely have to be like, I'm angry at this guy, or like we have a feud, but not all of them.
No, of course not. But what I'm saying is the Diaz brothers specifically, they've talked about it in the past. It's like, yeah, like I'm not going over here to like shake their hand. It's like we're about to get in a fucking fight.
Oh yeah, that's why they shit talk. They'll do the Stockton slap or whatever with the gloves, all that stuff.
That's why people like the Diaz and McGregor fights, because it's like fuck, like they're actually like they well, that and the Khabib fight too more recently, but
yeah, because
people like the animosity.
Yeah, they make it interesting. They don't just. I mean, it's fun to watch two guys who just appreciate the sport and they have a good match. But when there's a feud going on, even if it's not like outside the ring, just watching, like you said, a Diaz brothers fight, like they'll create aggression. Like the other guy will try to ignore it, but that's an aspect of the fight. He'll eventually will get annoyed. Maybe he'll start reaching a little bit more.
One thing I've noticed,
He'll get caught, maybe, possibly.
One thing I've noticed in my own viewing is, I mean, I can't lie to you. I love when there's some good beef between fighters, and then I love when people are respectful. But honestly, between the two, what I've realized, no matter what, is always gets me like deeper into like whatever fight or card I'm watching, is if it's a really good matchup. You know what I mean? It's like, because titles, whatever. Nowadays, it seems like everyone's getting a fucking interim title or whatever. But when you see,
I really hate the interim shit.
Me too. It's so frustrating. But when you see two fighters who like really match up, so like for example, it would have been Tony Ferguson and Khabib. I was dying to see that fight, or even more so, Khabib and the proposed GSP fight. That fight.
It's really sad what's happening with Ferguson. I really hope the best for Tony Ferguson, because he's definitely, as we talked about before, going through a bad time. Not really in the rankings anymore. I mean, he might still be up there, but he's not fighting anytime soon.
I've said it from the start. Like his whole mental health situation was scary, and I hope the best for him. But
yeah, look back on one of our maybe 10 episodes back or so, and wanted to. I think we put it in the description that we talked about Tony Ferguson. But basically, to sum it up, it's the whole typical schizophrenic symptoms of thinking people are watching you, the house is bugged, thinking the wife is in on some plot, threatening the kids. Yeah. So I hope he gets help and gets better.
But when I heard of the proposed GSP and Khabib fight, I got super excited for that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it fell through, because that would have been a really good matchup. Even like,
and I'm big on the grappling, and that would have been a huge wrestling match.
Oh, or maybe not, because maybe GSP could stop the takedowns and he would just jab him all night.
Yeah, because he knows maybe his striking's better than Khabib. He has a little range on him.
Exactly. So it's shit like that gets me more hyped than, oh, this dude doesn't like this dude, because it's like, okay, how many beefs can you really see before it's the same old story?
Because I think the beefs, even though we get we get into them too.
Yeah, of course. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't. Like John Jones, Daniel Cormier. I love that shit.
Yeah, when we're with the guys on fight night and we're watching all the previews and they play the intense music and they're like showing all the trash talking cuts off different where they follow him around before the fights and they're like, he's not going to do shit. Like, I'm gonna smash face. That type of thing. Right. It gets you into it, but I think it's more for the people who aren't really into the sport as much. Like, we've been watching for a long time, and I'm really into it. So I think at this point, we appreciate a good matchup sometimes more than the big name.
Yeah, because it's a lot easier.
The big name fights can be boring because those people are trying to save face, and sometimes they can be overly cautious in those big title fights. So even though the hype is exciting, some of the most exciting fights might be on the undercard or the regular fights on the main card. Oh, because you see insane elbows, brutal knockouts, because people are really going for it who are maybe ranked 15 or unranked, who are trying to move up.
I've always liked to watch the prelim fights as well, to the best of my abilities. They start pretty early sometimes, so if I can't catch them, whatever. But I usually
sometimes like 5 p.m. It's hard.
And this is on the East Coast. Like on the West Coast, because the main card starts at 7 p.m. over there. So the prelim fights, like if you're in like Nevada or
2,
like California, it starts at like 1 p.m. is when like the fight starts.
That's so early.
But honestly, I think I would really like that if I were living over there, because I mean I wouldn't probably go to the first couple prelim fights, but who knows, maybe just make a whole day out of it. But let's say that I'm only going for the main card, because there are people who just do that. Some people only go for the main event. But let's say I'm only going for the main card. It starts at 7 p.m. Like, fuck, that'd be like really fun to just go out, actually enjoy the fights.
It'd be like going to, any other like 7, 8
Sporting
p.m.
event.
like a Pistons game.
Yeah.
At like 7 p.m. You're home by 10:30, 11, 12 maybe.
Maybe go out afterwards,
Right.
So especially if it's in like Vegas.
Definitely.
I feel like that's what like a lot of people do. Like they're out doing whatever, go for the fights, like just the main event, and then go back to doing whatever the fuck they were
Right.
doing.
Especially think of all the people in California who have the money to just go out to Vegas for the weekend for the fights, go
Oh,
back
yeah.
home.
Oh yeah,
They go gamble Friday night, go to the fight Saturday, come home Sunday.
that's probably like a really like common, like
It sounds
trip
fun.
It,
Yeah.
it does. It sounds really
Yeah,
fun.
because I mean, you could do it, extravagant, like fly your private jet, but like, you could do it on a more budget way too. You could save up for the tickets, hop in a car, and just drive out there with a few guys. Ladies split the cost. Split the gas, get some, cheaper food, stay in like, usually you can get a cheap room in Vegas because of all the casino subsidizing
See,
it.
my fear with UFC fights as a fan, and I can't be alone on this because I feel like this is uniquely a MMA thing, are all the fucking injuries. So imagine you had that plan all laid out. You were gonna go here XYZ, hop in the Uber here, get to the fights, but the fight falls through, which it's happened before, the day of, and the main event's trashed. So now, like the rest of the card, which look, you're still going, it'll still be fun, but what you would expect, like a couple. I remember, wasn't one of the John Jones DC fights called off? Oh no,
Yeah, there was a
because
few
of
fights.
well, steroids, yeah, but still same situation. Fight got called off. Like UFC 200, that card was like really great when they first announced it. It had like John Jones and fucking DC and Brock Lesnar.
They had that
and
one Trump. Yeah, that card had like 6 good, huge name fights all in a row, and like
Everyone
3
kept
of
getting
them,
injured.
Yeah, 3 of them at least, 4 of them. I think there was 2 good fights left at the end by the time they all got cut.
As a fan, that shit's rough.
Yeah, I remember there's been a few occasions, that was one of them, where we were going to pay for the pay-per-view, just to throw some money towards the sport and also get the highest quality so there's no lag or anything if you're, obtaining it off Reddit, MMA streams,
All right.
if you were to do something like that. But going on back to the topic, yeah, there's a few we just decided not to buy. But if you had tickets, you would have to try to scalp them, or you just go.
I think that no matter what,
I would still go.
yeah, I would, because like
I would just go more for the prelims.
for example, when we went to UFC 218, I believe it was,
Yeah, 218.
Jose Aldo and Max Holloway was not the original main event. The original main event was Holloway versus Frankie Edgar.
Oh yeah, and Edgar got hurt, right? He had a back injury.
Yeah, he got hurt, but thankfully for us, Jose Aldo stepped in and Max took the fight, and that was still a great fight and one that like people still got excited for. So,
Yeah.
and, I mean, so for example, I mentioned earlier how I'm a really big fan of styles and matchups. I was, even though there was a belt on the line, I was more excited for the co-main event, which was Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem. And for people who don't know, people who don't know, Francis Ngannou killed a man that night. Like
Yeah.
we almost saw Alistair Overeem die.
I mean, he came back to life, but for a second, everyone in the arena was asking each other, like, is he okay? What's going on? It was this like, commotion. He was just laying there with his arms. It looked like he was about to just have his soul just suddenly start coming out of
To
him.
see a real bad knockout in person like that, that's a lot different from seeing it on TV and then just having it cut away to a fucking like Modelo commercial.
Right, like on TV, it's crazy. You hear, Rogan scream, or, Anik, everyone's going, oh my God, he got clipped. But, when you're there, it's like you hear the pop and then the guy hits the ground and
Stiffen up.
and it gets quiet in the stadium for a second. It's like, oh my goodness, and then everyone's yelling and
But
then
I got
the doctors are running in there and like, they were there for easily 2-3 minutes before he moved.
because he was out cold for like 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
He did not move at first. We were asking each other, is he okay? And he didn't even like move his arm that whole time.
Yeah, I was worried, honestly.
Yeah, because at first it was kind of like a joke, like, damn, he got really blasted there, and then he just continued to not move. I'm like, is he okay? because he was known to have a weak jaw in recent years after getting
And
clipped
Francis
a lot.
Ngannou has a power of like I think a Prius that they said. Like
I
it's
can
like
believe it.
it's a running joke on I've seen in the MMA community because Dana White got all fucking excited and redheaded.
Like, what's his horsepower? Prius.
Yeah, he was like dead serious too. But
It's funny because it almost seems to makes him seem like really like small and weak, but it's like if you're comparing that to like horses, it's like
yeah.
you know, like 130 of them.
Well, I get really excited for matchups. So even though that there wasn't a belt on the line for that, and probably a lot of people wouldn't know who either of the two dudes are just by like name. I mean, right now I think people know who both of those guys are if they know fighting a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was super excited for that, and for a good reason. We saw this devastating knockout.
I love grappling, which you definitely see as we play UFC 3 on PlayStation, because I like to try to tap you out all the time. But I love watching a good wrestling and grappling match. Like
You can appreciate the skill.
I love Khabib's fights because he immediately, starts, he'll do some strikes, sets it up, and then eventually he always gets to the side of the cage. He wraps the guy up, wraps up the legs, the knees, takes him down, and then from there he's just like a boa constrictor. I love watching that. For some people, it's boring though.
I think the difference, and most new viewers probably wouldn't be able to explain it right away. Maybe some, but
I honestly wasn't into it at the beginning.
There's
the ground stuff.
A difference between a style like, let's say, Khabib's, where he actually tries to finish the fight, beat you up, choke you out from all those positions that he tries to control, versus someone who's like gassed and takes the fight down and just lays in their guard instead of trying to do any transitions and just sits there. That's boring. Like
that is boring when they're doing nothing and Herb Dean's leaning in and saying, "Guys, work."
But when you get someone who tries to actually advance their position, throw strikes, go for submissions, that's really entertaining, especially if the guy knows how to defend. So it's like a really cool chess match.
Exactly. Do you want to look at any of these articles, or should we just wrap it up?
So you were reading the that one about the Powerball. Okay, so
yeah, we'll just go through these and then end on that. So we were looking at a few articles. This first one here, we'll post all these. Actually, I'll keep these tabs open. This Powerball winner 90, Sue Sun, claims the jackpot she won from the lottery was poorly invested. She won $278 million. And at first, it sounds like, you might be thinking, oh, you can't just get pissed because he, just bought a bunch of cool shit and you don't like his choices. But when you look into it more, she let him manage all the money with a group of financial advisors. Right. And they basically took all of her money. And, well, I guess she lost it all in bad investments, and they charged $2 million in fees. So even though she lost all her money, basically, they still got out with cash because they had $2 million. That must be very strange, and it is pretty sad in a way that someone has to like sue their own kid.
Yeah, my God.
And how could you do that to your own mom?
But look, so as the mom, you're 90 years old. It's like, what are you gonna get from suing your fucking kid? What are you gonna
letting him know that you're really pissed? I guess.
Because at that point, it's like, I feel like the only thing that she would do is, okay, let's say she got back some sort of amount of money, which from the sounds of it, he doesn't have any anymore. So what is she going to do? Take what little money he has and then give it to one of her other kids in her will just to spite him?
Right. If she has any other ones.
At that point, you got to think of it this way. It's like, okay, like we're back to where you were before. That's what I'm talking about. That fucking baseline that people get on.
Yeah. I mean, he probably thought he was going to make a bunch of money. He probably didn't try to lose it all. He blew it all investing in some companies that just went down the drain. The way I look at it is she probably could have avoided this whole lawsuit, and it would have been so much more powerful to just, like, send him a letter that says, like, I'm disappointed in you. Like, that would probably be a lot more crushing than a lawsuit. Because, I mean, the money's gone. Like, what are you trying to get back? The fees? They probably already spent the money, moved it around. They're not going to get it.
Okay, the only thing that I could see from, like, if they had, like, something on their side was for... a lot of people have seen it at this point, like The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Like, you know how in that movie one of their schemes was telling people to invest in these companies that were actually really shitty, but they got a bunch of like commission on it. And
it's
shit
like options
that.
trading. Like they bet on it losing, and they have these people like buy into it a bunch, and then it still loses, and they take all the money for it.
So what if these so-called financial advisors told them, that maybe not situations as specific as that, but maybe they told them, hey, yeah, invest in this company, they're like really good. And meanwhile, they're like, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
It just to get all these $2 million in fees, etc.
Yeah.
So.
But this article is pretty scarce. It doesn't even say how much they're suing for. Maybe it's private information.
That's
so it doesn't really say like how
There's
much
so many
money's
details.
left.
Yeah.
Like is there still 50 million left? It might just be like rich people problems,
Yeah. What if?
What if 75 million's left, and she just, because he says at the bottom he claims that she has no basis for a lawsuit just because investments didn't grow the way his mother liked. Yeah. Like what if it just like didn't make a profit and she's trying to sue?
Honestly, because like she's 90 years old too.
Bitter.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck this
But
guy.
no, I mean she could just not be all there. She's 90 fucking years old.
Yeah, maybe she's like convinced that he's somehow scamming her.
So yeah, because look, it was 278 million. Like,
what are you even gonna do with that age with that money anyway?
She could have only like had him invest like 13 or like 30% of that money, and you know what I mean. So she probably still have a ton.
Like unless she's trying to invest in some sort of consciousness transfer company that he, isn't allowing her to have access to, or
I swear I'm working on it.
Some sort of cybernetic enhancement thing. But what else is she gonna do with that money that she, needs right now at that age?
I mean, honestly, at that point,
just enjoy your life.
Yeah, you're just like chilling on a beach and then just like
Will she
setting up
want the
funds
newest
for
iPad?
You're just setting up funds for like donation and your fucking kids at that point.
Right, like unless she has like no money to live. If she has any sort of excess, I mean, just enjoy living. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that one.
Yeah.
And this one, we just want to call out Carnival Cruise Line sucks ass just because this article we were reading claims they were dumping gray water into Alaska, dumping oil throughout the ocean, and actively covering it up and lying to government officials about what they were doing with it.
Yeah, good. Honest. I'm glad that the federal government's putting its foot down on that, because that is really shitty. They even called them out. See,
I guess we should get to the main point of the article first. A federal judge on Wednesday threatened to stop Carnival from docking its ships at U.S. ports temporarily as a punishment for possibly violating probation. And then when you read into it what the probation was, you start thinking, wait, how was the entire company of Carnival put inside jail? This makes no sense. So they got put on probation as a company from the government as part of a $40 million settlement for, as we said, dumping oil, lying, for 8 years. And now they're apparently doing it again because they're possibly violating probation. So maybe they're here's a great, they dump plastic garbage into the ocean too. But yeah, there must be some suspicion that they're doing something again.
People smarter than I have come to figure out that cruise ships, they're horrible for the environment. Not only
think about how much gas it uses to move.
I was gonna say, not only people are throwing away all this shit, there's a lot of like gas burning, shit like that, oil burning, that just like planes, like all these big like transportation like equipment, they're horrible for the environment. But we haven't like figured out or have figured out like an efficient enough way to get something that big to move the same way. Like I think that people wanted to use like solar power and shit for airplanes, but they can't get enough power.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know how I feel about cruise ships. I don't even want to get into that. I haven't gone on one, but
they're fun. Fuck, dude. I'm telling you.
I just don't want to go on one. Maybe if I could try it once, I might have a good time. I feel like it's just gluttony. You have everything within basically one apartment building, one big party. You can eat nonstop seafood, burgers, there's a bowling alley, you can do all that stuff. But you can also just do that at home. I would rather go walk around and be somewhere.
To the so you say that, yes, which that's extremely true. So, but at the same time, you're at least the one that I went on. I went to like a couple of different places, like the Virgin Islands. Where else? I like Jamaica. Where was that? Was that Jamaica? No, that wasn't Jamaica. Oh yeah, it was some other place in that area. But you get off of the boat and you actually like go out and fucking like visit these places, you know.
But it's limited, right? You're there for what, 6 hours?
Yeah, but
Right, like what can you get out of a place in that amount of time?
you can get enough. But because like I went
I
like
disagree, but that's fine.
no, I honestly I did some really cool shit over there, and plus you go to a couple of different places too, because I guess you have to.
I
Some
think I
people
need like
look
12 hours just to get like my compass about me, like figure
Look.
out what a place is about.
just like some people don't like cruises, some people don't like going on like backpacking trips through Europe. So like it really just depends on what you're trying to get out of the
That
trip.
seems way more in my vein, to be honest.
So yeah, no, like I said, just people have like different things that they
Yeah.
want to do. So
And I love beaches. I mean, I would like to go somewhere that has like where they would go on a cruise, but I'd like to just go there and spend 5-6 days there.
and at the same time too, people just like being on boats. It's honestly just
Yeah.
cool just being on the fucking ocean like
I
that.
don't, honestly. I love the ocean and looking at it, but I have that
It's pitch black
fear.
at night.
Yeah, because okay, I'm not afraid of flying for the most part, but I do get freaked out if I look out and you're like over just pure water in the airplane. Because then I think at that moment, you know, if it hits the water, like we're just sinking.
Well, you're fucked if you're in an airplane, unless if you're like that like Sully dude. But
Right.
I mean, if you're on a boat, like unless
Yeah, unless
it's
you're
like,
Denzel Washington and you
like,
can pull it off.
let's say
Or
for
was it the
some
Tom
reason,
Hanks one?
Tom Hanks.
Well, the Denzel
Yeah.
one is good too, about the pilot. What's that movie? Have you seen it?
I don't think so. But
Oh, while I'm looking this up, by the way, if you're wondering about the cruise ship mileage, I'm sure it's even worse for a gigantic one. But the Oasis of the Seas, that may be the largest one, burns 11,000 gallons of fuel each hour, which is equivalent to 0.0023 miles per gallon or 12 feet per gallon. Think about that next time you get pissed at someone driving a V8 car or something.
and
Yell
those
at
are
cruise
going
ships.
like non-stop.
Yeah. So think of, for days, weeks on end, just all that gas, diesel fuel too, being just burned into the atmosphere.
And people don't even think about it. Because honestly, I didn't pay attention to it until like someone pointed it out to me just recently.
Flight. Yeah, that's a good movie with Denzel. You should check that one out.
But unless if so, let's say the cruise ship you're on just springs a leak, whatever.
That would
There's-
not be whatever for me. I'd be like, this shit's the Titanic. I'd be grabbing the lifeboats. I'd be hitting alarms. Like, let's
There's-
get off.
After the Titanic specifically, weird that you bring that up, because they didn't have enough lifeboats to save everyone. Like after that, now it's like law that every like cruise ship has to have enough lifeboats to save everyone on board and extra. In case if they pick
Probably
up
a
some
good
people on a
idea.
fucking nearby fucking island or something, I don't know. They're like, hey, come with us.
Yeah, in case there's any extras.
Yeah.
Or maybe saving another ship even.
True, yeah, that's very true.
Okay, let's see. What else? Do we have anything left? No, that guy's just a piece of shit. We don't even want to give him any airtime.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's funny. We'll end on this. Someone stealing the wheels off of police cruisers in Mississippi. I think this is hilarious because it's like I was picturing their logic. How are the cops going to chase me if they catch us doing this if we're taking the wheels off their car?
Yeah, like you would think. Oh, so it doesn't in the article it say that these cars, at least in one situation, was there for like a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. People were probably like looking at it like, is this gonna just sit here? So like, I'm gonna take this. Just every day they just get closer and closer. It's like, okay, well if no one's gonna stop me, then
Yeah, in my head, I like to picture like the cops going into like a Coney Island and grabbing some lunch, and these guys like boost the wheels off in the parking lot. But it sounds more like when you see police cars just parked on the median in the freeway to like slow people down, and there's no one even in it. Or they'll just like leave them parked somewhere in the city just to like for a police presence.
That's fucked me up a few times.
Yeah, me too.
It serves its purpose.
Yeah, you jab the brakes and you're like, wait, you don't even need a cop there. You just
Yeah.
slowed me down.
You just need the presence of it.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. But yeah, they were parked behind a police museum. but they weren't rare. They weren't in the museum. They were just some regular cop cars. They probably left there just to like scare people off from breaking into the museum.
I always think too, okay.
Or just storage, because I mean that means the police own the property, so they're storing extra cars there maybe.
I always think if there's just like a rogue cop car here, like let's say one that was empty, I feel like even though there's an empty one right here, there can't be another like fully formed like police officer very far away from that car.
No, it's like a...
Whether they be in another car or just like walking around, like they can't be far away.
It's like a trap. It's like you see,
Yeah.
It's like you see like
They're hiding in the bushes or something.
Yeah,
I see them.
It's like if we're like some sort of predator. We see some meat hanging. You're looking around. You're like, I know there's a hunter somewhere with a rifle waiting for me.
Oh yeah, it's like they're waiting in the wisps. Like they're coming.
They're waiting to pop out like Tom Clancy with that radar gun and hit
Except
you with it.
I'm not sure how much they would accomplish if they radared someone who was speeding and they were outside of their car. Like they'd have to like get in the car and then
They
turn
can do it
on.
outside.
Yeah, but what would they do? Fucking pull them over on foot?
No, just jump in the car.
Yeah, but they've wasted so much time that they got to speed even faster. I feel like
Oh, they'll totally get you.
look, I feel like that'd be a huge like inefficient like. But hey, I
just
can't
saw-
put it past people.
Yeah. And the first couple of days of nice weather we just had, was it 2 weeks ago? We got that first 50 or 60 degree day.
Yes.
And this always happens, I'm sure anywhere seasonal, but especially in Michigan. As soon as the weather clears and you get that first like 50 degree day where it's sunny, cops are everywhere because people get all excited and then they end up speeding because they're so used to driving in shitty snow and rain weather.
They're like, I can finally like breathe. I can get out here now.
They roll down the windows and they look and suddenly get pulled over for going 50 and a 40. It happens.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is like the hot season.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is I saw a cop on 96 standing outside the car with the laser gun.
See,
He had the door open and it was already facing forward, so he would just have to hop in and go
so
forward.
okay, that's a little bit different
Yeah.
than I guess. Let's say someone like standing in the bushes, like
yeah, in the
completely
bush.
outside of like an empty car, like 15 feet away.
He
He's gotta
clocks
fucking
you.
hobble over there.
He clocks you doing like 15 and over, and he like runs all the way to the parking garage he's near, and like has
By
to
that
pay
time-
he
by that
pulls
time
out
you're
his
across
credit
state
card.
borders.
He's paying the ticket to get out of the garage. Oh, that's some funny shit. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks for listening, everyone. Check out the Twitter.
The TCOC podcast.
Yeah, we post all the articles for the most part. Not all of them, but notable ones. And we post links to the episodes on there.
Honestly, and I
Share
see,
it,
I see people
retweet.
random comedians on there all the time. I retweet them, so who knows? DM us, talk to us, we'll be there.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to follow us if you want. Don't be pressured into retweeting, but check us out.
Do it right now. Have a good weekend, guys.
I'm scratching for some scratch and some skrilla, trying to get the big paper, cause yo, paper is a killer, leaving niggas on days, cause yes, money pays, cause if you ain't got it, then it seems you are plotting, trying to do you a robbery or some type of assault, but you just might get caught, but you know it ain't my fault, I'm gon' dip away and slip away and find me a hideaway and look for my nigga Pop, go on and take the ride.
Well, I'll be right there, homie. What's up, baby? You looking crazy like you don't really know me.
No.
I know you heard the album, I ain't mad at you.
Mad
So
at
move closer, big baby, let me stab at you.
Stab
You know
at
the rules, Big Pac in this motherfucker. Don't look at me crazy, cause baby, I'm with the mother suckers. This thug life, baby, outlaw immortals. I thought I taught you, baby, we don't do it, but we fought you. And when we did, we beat you ass niggas in the streets to the motherfucking studio. Sounding like Phil Collins singing studio, you
If
niggas
there's
is
a
fool you.
cure for this,
I don't want it, I don't need it.
and if there's a cure for this,
I don't need it, I don't want it. I say these niggas know me, but do they know the deal double G?
I don't think
They
so.
don't know.
They don't know.
Say niggas know me,
Know me.
but do they know the deal double G?
Double G.
Do they know?
Do they know?
The niggas down with me.
Down with him, nigga. Thug life, thug life.
Those know. I say he's down with me.
Down with him, nigga. Down with him. It's like a family, Corleone style, mafioso. Snoop Dogg about to do it like Mussolini slow. Edie, what up, nigga? I see ya, I feel you real now. Snoop Dogg about to show you how I peel the crowd. I step back, relax, New Jacks, they get smacked up against the wall when they think that they can get with that. Nigga, doggy dog, I'm so smooth. I keep it on the real, cause I'm a true killer when it come to making Skrilla.
Them niggas know I suppose they froze once they see me in the dog doing clothes in the videos. Bitches pause. We all
there's a cure for this,
then nigga, I don't want it. I don't need it.
and if there's a cure for this,
I don't need it. I don't want it. And if there's a cure for this.